Come in.
All
right, we are recording.
All right.
So that I don't have to jump over there.
So you want me to introduce you as Esdee Ar?
Yeah.
Make sure I open up the right set of notes. Oh, nope, those are my recipes. Those are my recipes again. Once again, recipes. Not helping me, buddies. Here goes. Mixology 101 notes.
Well, I know they are, but I'm saying they're sitting in trash can. Where's that?
Sir, what am I gonna be doing with this? Right now, when those get empty, when those start to empty out, then you can refill them. In the meantime, I just need you to make sure that I don't go insane. Did you pour me a glass of water?
Yeah.
Awesome.
We have a bucket of ice coming with housekeeping.
Yes.
And is that a Nook?
Yes.
It's huge.
It's the Nook HD Plus.
Holy crap, it's so tiny in comparison.
It's basically the iPad without the iPadness. Okay, I'll take that with water. We'll use a fancy cup for me with water. One of Esdee Ar's cups.
Everybody wins.
Yes. Temporary minion, this is my assistant Emma Peelout. Other temporary minions, that's my assistant Emma Peelout.
Hello. Hello.
If for some reason a question needs to be asked and I'm in my spiel, ask her and she'll get it to me.
Alright.
She's my eyes, my ears, my other voice.
We don't ask questions, we just follow orders.
Oh. Right, well then sit back, relax, and enjoy the show for now.
That's
As soon as we get everybody in.
alright.
I'm assuming those are more than this.
Okay, so you want an indication when you have 10 minutes left?
More for us.
About, yes.
Okay.
More for us. Don't worry about it.
It's pretty, isn't it?
It is.
Speaking of pretty. Trash can. Over, not in the way, don't knock over the video camera.
It's just kind of,
That works.
Testing.
Thank you.
Ooh.
I don't often use mics. I have a very loud voice, usually. Now, I know there are more people coming into this panel. I know I was running late, but come on. Their attention spans can't be that short.
We got him on it.
All right. My last mixology panel was standing room only. Of course, that's where everyone knew me already and just came for the free booze.
And we should have shut down all free booze in this room.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to reward you all for being here early.
Sweet.
If you would like to come on up and have a sample of sangria, we have a red sangria and a white sangria.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, I see I'm really having to
Twist our
really
arm.
twist your arm on this, yeah.
Twist harder.
As I said, red sangria and white sangria.
Since we're early, we get sangria.
You didn't say not to.
I did not say not to.
Yes.
Hey, if we run out before everybody gets it, well, yeah.
That's our problem. Should be early.
Well, as we start to run out, I'll tell you my secret on how to keep the sangria flowing and make it interesting. But that's for later in the panel. No freebies on the panel notes.
I want you this stuff keep in the fridge.
With the alcohol,
The question
yeah.
is, why should it keep in the
Well, because I was the only one drinking it here, Dave.
I kept mine in my fridge for 3 weeks, and so
I
before it
still
ran
have
out.
stuff
Slow
from
week.
New Year's Eve.
Kids,
Well, that's probably fair enough by now.
kids, I don't drink before 5. Except on Saturdays. Oh, it's always 5 somewhere.
Have you tasted the food?
Yes, definitely.
Yes, you can
Several
have
people do so without asking.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess you're the first one to ask. What's your name?
Lana.
So if
I'll
you could
remember you.
jumble for, he's already ready.
It would help if I actually look at these. Especially the ones I'm actually smelling and tasting. Not yet, that's actually for the Men Without Pants party. That one's for the The Men Without Pants party, which will be in this room after my 3 booze panels, and virtually all of the booze that you see before you will be donated to the Men Without Pants party.
Plus the Joe shots.
Actually, I do need one more thing. I need a picture or something, because I need a tip jar. Look, Sarah got it.
How large does it need to be, because we have.
Let's get something a little sturdier. Actually, it gives them something more to do. Oh my gosh, Emma, you made that look so nice over there. Mark. Mark, cut those up so nicely. Yes, thank you.
Make it nice for them. But I like some
Well, they're running to get me a picture.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
But there's something up in my room with lovely samples. That sounds like a bad line, but no, I have from a distillery out in Portland, Oregon. They do lots of lovely things. One of them they have nice out there. So I need to bring that down.
Yes, I would enjoy a small taste of that.
Having seen your profusion of resolution. I didn't bring the exotic one, which is the Douglas fir. But that's one of those things that you
That
try
sounds like
once.
it'd be a little bit like gin.
It is, but again.
But gin's usually done with juniper, not spruce.
Yeah, it's Douglas fir, so it's nice, but you'll never taste anything else for like hours afterwards.
So how's the sangria, folks?
tasty.
Love the red, white.
I mean, if you're gonna eat.
Not so much? It can be a, well, yes. It can be an acquired taste depending on which one you'd rather have. Plus, ideally, this should be chilled more, but sadly, due to constraints, I was not able to chill it the way I would have liked to have. So, the red is usually better served at room temperature. The white should be chilled a little bit more, so.
Yes, that's probably what's affecting
Yeah, the
the
mini
taste.
fridges they
Probably.
provided are like.
Yeah, I wasn't able to get my jugs of white wine in there, and with the tea tasting running overtime and me running behind time because the tea dueling, yeah. So,
It's okay.
once the ice bucket gets here, we might throw some ice in there too. Do you have any ice?
Here it is. Here we go.
All you can ever
The ice is
possibly
covered by.
Oh,
a
okay, some of the ice needs to go on that, and some of the ice needs to just go over where I can get to it. Because I actually didn't need an ice bucket patch. I needed it for mixing drinks.
It's never last night.
You never have too much ice. No.
Well, it depends on the drink.
My hands are clean. I
Depends
swear.
on geography.
Emma, could you poke outside and see if this really is, oh, not in the red?
We were passing the flag.
Just the white?
Is it just?
That's fine, it's not over. Could you see if there's any more
Yeah, I
people
was
wanting
just
to come in? Because if, when my lovely assistant Emma Peel returns, if this is it, then we'll get started.
That should be.
The rest can
It's
come
good like
in.
to be in field.
It's fine, so I'm just gonna put it over there. Unless you need it somewhere else.
Yeah, just, right at the edge of the table, actually, where I can,
Yeah, sure. I'll put it down.
just right over where your knee is.
Oh, sure.
There you go, that's perfect. And I'll just reach down there and grab ice when I need. Is that it? All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, get yours. I only needed one, but I'll take 2, thank you. I'll just stick that right in front of the traveling
I
market.
still, I wasn't.
Thank you. And that one can just go over there somewhere. All right.
It was.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as it seems that nobody else is hankering to get in, and I don't understand why, but you're the lucky ones who are here. I would like to welcome you to Mixology 101. I am your proprietress, Calamity Dawn.
Can we close the door, please? Let me see the picture.
And I have been an amateur mixologist for a while now, for a few years. I first got started in amateur mixology at a convention a couple years ago, where I decided that yes, rum was fine, scotch is dandy, but frankly I wanted to do something more fancy than just have some plain rum on hand. So I made up my first drink, which is the Kraken's Delight. Some of you may have had a chance to sample it, some of you may have not. Kraken's Delight will be available at the Men Without Pants party after all the booze panels are over. I'm saving the rest of it for that occasion. So I created the Kraken's Delight. I served it to some friends. It was met with wild applause. which led me to create another recipe and another and another and another, to the point where eventually Peter Bierslayer decided I knew what I was talking about and invited me here. So, I'll get started with a simple question, which is, what is mixology? Simply put, have any of you ever made a rum and coke?
Yes.
Yes. Therefore, those of you who have, technically, you're mixologists. Mixology is simply nothing more than the act of creating or mixing two elements together to make a drink. It's as simple as that. It gets a little more tricky than that sometimes, because then you end up with people who create their own drinks. And those are the people who like to call themselves with a capital M mixologists. And there are professional mixologists, many of whom are also bartenders, which may make you wonder what the difference between a mixologist and a bartender is. One of the biggest differences, most bartenders get paid. As an amateur mixologist, I do not. One thing that bartenders and mixologists do have in common, especially when we go to events and parties, is the tip jar. Because that's the only way we pay for all this. And most bartenders receive less than minimum wage, and they really do depend on the tips and the generosity of their customers to earn their living. So going back to me and mixology, I don't serve drinks on a massive scale the way a lot of bartenders do. I tend to take a more personal approach with people. My passion is creating drinks on my own. And it's a fairly simple thing to do. With Mixology 101, I like to work with pre-existing items. In Creative Mixology, which is my final panel this evening, I will be talking about making vodka infusions and working with your own customized ingredients. But for now, we'll stick with the basics. I have to apologize, some of my panel notes were lost in translation, and it's been a rough weekend for me, so I'm a little bit off my game tonight, so I do apologize for that. So, beyond basic mixology and doing mixology with customizable ingredients, there's something called molecular mixology. Are any of you familiar with something called molecular gastronomy? Well, molecular mixology is the same thing. They do funny things with nitrogen and really take mixology down to a chemical level. They're the ones who make the glow-in-the-dark drinks and drinks that have like hyper infusions of essential oils and weird stuff. As I told you, the first drink I ever created was the Kraken's Delight. It came about, and here's the fun part where I give you all the recipe to the Kraken's Delight.
I'll retain that, yeah.
Well, simply put, I have my calling cards up front. If you, after the panels are over, if you wish to have me send you a copy of the Kraken's Delight recipe, then simply send me a message on Facebook and I will shoot it out to you. The Kraken's Delight, which was my simplest recipe, and the only reason I do not have the ingredients for the Kraken's Delight in front of you to actually make it for you is because they've all been used up to make the Kraken's Delight that I brought to the convention. It starts with 2 parts the Kraken rum. It starts with I actually do have some Sailor Jerry's, 1 part Sailor Jerry's, a 1/4 part of coconut rum, and a splash of butterscotch schnapps. You mix it into a cup or bowl or whatever. I tend to mix it into a very large bowl. I use a 4-cup measuring cup to proportion it out because I usually make it by the gallon. And just stir it, and Kraken's Delight's one of the ones that really mellows as it goes along. You know what? We'll just do it the fun way. It's a smaller crowd than I was expecting, so why don't we start by making a basic drink? Now, the first drink I'm going to make for you is not one of my own creations. This is a fairly recent creation. It was designed in 2007 by a bartender in New York. If I had my other notes, I would be able to tell you his name. He created something called the American Trilogy, which to date right now is one of my favorite little cocktails. So what we need is a shaker. This is check your thrift stores, folks, because you can find the neatest things for your hobbies at thrift stores. I found this lovely 1970s era shaker at a thrift store for $2. So first thing we do for this is get a little ice in our cocktail shaker. It's always valuable to have a jigger. Very valuable to have a jigger. While I'm talking about this and working on this recipe, I can also tell you a little bit about what comes on a basic bar. Every mixologist needs a wet bar. On any basic bar, what you're really gonna wanna have on hand, you're going to want a good rum. I like to have 3 rums on hand. I like to have a spiced rum, a clear rum, and a dark rum. My favorite dark rum is Kraken's rum, which is also spiced. My spiced rum of choice is usually Sailor Jerry's because I like how strong it is. And my clear rum is usually Bacardi Superior. It's not very expensive and it's a decent enough rum. You should have at least 1 gin, whether you like it or not. Somebody you know is going to like it and will be happy to see it on your wet bar. For people who are not really big on gin and who would like something that doesn't have as big of a juniper taste, I recommend either Hendrick's, which has a very lovely cucumber profile, or the New Amsterdam, which Peter Beersler has in his cooler somewhere, as I made him giblets earlier this afternoon. And it's a very good, the New Amsterdam has got a very strong citrus flavor to it. So the American Trilogy here uses 1 ounce of rye whiskey. My whiskey of choice is Bullet Rye, and 1 ounce of Applejack, and a bit of brown sugar. And we feel on my belt. You like my new belt? I had this belt made for me by Jeff Platt from Highwind Steamworks. It's a custom order. This is one of the drinks. You don't shake this drink, you stir this drink, and you stir this drink. This drink will stir for a while, so while I'm stirring, you should also have on your wet bar, if you can afford it, get a good scotch. It never goes out of place. If you can't afford a really good scotch, there are some fine blended whiskeys and blended scotches out there. Teachers makes a good blended scotch. I like a little Tullamore Dew on my Irish whiskey side. You should always have some Jack Daniels or something similar on hand. I say Jack Daniels because there are far more Jack Daniels drinkers out there than some of the fancier things. And you should have a good bourbon on hand. I like Four Roses. Some people like Maker's Mark. That's up to personal choice. Try not to cheap out on your wet bars. The more expensive it is in a lot of cases, the better it's going to be. A $5 gin is going to taste like shoe polish. And when you make your martini, you'll be making liquid shoe polish. So, young lady in the back there. That would be you. And you told me your name, and I'm already done forgot it because Lana. If you would like to come forward, because you were the first person to actually ask whether or not they could have a sample of both, which was of course perfectly okay, but you were the first one to ask. I would like to give you this drink.
Thank you.
Now, most mixed cocktails like this should only be about 2 ounces.
Fail.
This is 2 ounces.
Is it 2 ounces?
This is 1 ounce of rye, 1 ounce of Applejack, and a little bit of brown sugar. 2
Stem
ounces.
mix.
Oops, sorry.
The stem. And
Oh,
of
okay,
course,
that's
sadly,
right,
the
yes.
brown sugar is not dissolving as well as it could have. Could you rinse this out for me, sweetie? Yes.
Is there a note involved with this about the old style smaller martini glasses and the new huge ones?
Wow.
Yes, I would like to make a point on that. Would you like to tell people what you think of the American Trilogy?
Delicious.
And the reason,
It smells good and tastes good.
the reason I believe they named it the American Trilogy is rye whiskey, Applejack, and brown sugar are pretty darn American ingredients. And they make a wonderful story together. I would like to point out at this time that if anybody has questions or comments, please feel free to interject. We can turn this more into a little bit of a roundtable discussion because I have 3 hours to fill time. You don't have to be here for all 3 hours, but I do. So, more like 2.5 hours. I doubt the men without pants will let me start the party late. So, my dears.
What was the question about the martini glasses?
Yes, the martini glasses. Thank you, thank you. Okay. The thing about the martini glasses, you've noticed buying martini glasses. Do you have one of the more modern ones out here? Yes.
Yes.
This is a modern martini glass. When I make my martinis using about 2 ounces, it only fills up about this much of the martini glass. These hold more for up to 6 ounces.
Mixers.
Mixers. A lot of them do mixers with the appletinis and a lot of these other things. I don't usually make mixers, by the way. I just go for straight alcohol generally. So yeah, there is definitely the big difference. I like the classic martini glasses better. They're smaller, they look prettier, I think. They don't take up as much space in your shelf. So that is definitely a noteworthy thing. So, let's see, other things to have on your wet bar. Going into the more optional items that you can have on a wet bar, absinthe. Absinthe is definitely an acquired taste.
If you're going American, you can always go herb saint.
No, yes, but anything that has anise in it that tastes like licorice is very much an acquired taste, and not that many people really dig on it.
They vary widely by region too.
Yes, they do. Absinthe definitely does. But if you have absinthe, you should also have on hand a good stock of sugar cubes. I don't choose to drink it straight. I think you have to be insane to drink it straight, but if that is your forte, if that is your insanity of choice, then enjoy it.
Well, I do it with water, but yeah.
No. I like doing the burn off where I burn the sugar cube a little bit.
Czechoslovakia.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't do it very often because my husband doesn't like absinthe, and whenever I drink absinthe in the house, he makes me brush my teeth immediately after. It's just why bother? So absinthe is a good optional thing to have. You need a good shaker. You need a cocktail stirrer. My cocktail stirrer is upstairs in my room, but I was using mine. You need a good church key or bottle opener. Let's see. You really don't need all these beautiful fancy glasses that my lovely friend Esdee Ar will be discussing in basic cocktails. All these beautiful glasses, you know what? You really don't need them all. Because frankly, any drink that has ever been made can be served in an old-fashioned glass or a rocks glass. Anything. Martinis, margaritas, pina coladas. The only thing I would hesitate to serve in these are shooters, only because they generally a lot of them generally take up a smaller amount of volume, and it's not as easy to shoot out of one of these glasses because it tends to spill out of the side of your mouth. Let's see, anybody have any questions so far? Yes?
How do you typically prepare your absinthe?
Well, the most common way that I actually prepare it when I prepare it at home for my friends is the method where I use an absinthe spoon, which... Oh, no, that's not an absinthe spoon, that's a cake server. Yes, I don't know why there's a cake server in my bartending kit.
And I couldn't find mine. When I
Mine
was
is
back.
upstairs and I will fetch it. The absinthe will be available at the Men Without Pants party. Generally, I take an absinthe spoon, I pour my serving of absinthe in the bottom of the glass, in this little part here. I balance the absinthe spoon up here, and I put a sugar cube on it, and then I pour ice cold water over it until the sugar cube dissolves. And then I usually give it a little bit of a stir, and I enjoy. Some people, another way to do it is the Czechoslovakian method. There's two different variants to that one also. There's the one variant where you dip your sugar cube in absinthe, and you light it on fire, and you drop it in, then you pour the water in it thank you. The other method is to actually, again, dipping the sugar cube in the absinthe, placing the ignited the absinthe spoon on the end. I forgive you for my tripping. Believe it or not, I have not been drinking at all today. Maybe that is the problem.
Yes.
That is.
Maybe I only speak coherently when I'm drunk. You take the soaked sugar cube, put it on the absinthe spoon, ignite it, then pour the water over it to extinguish the sugar. It's called burning it off, and it does actually reduce some of the whole reason they do the sugar and the water and the burning is to reduce some of the alcoholic content of absinthe.
It's harsh.
Of all these liquors I have out here, even my own mixed blends, absinthe has the highest concentration of alcohol.
The caramelized sugar flavor also adds to it.
Yes, for some. Some people like the bitterness of it. Some people have dark, bitter souls that like the bitterness of absinthe straight. Do you have a dark, bitter soul?
Possibly.
Yes.
No, I was saying that I was one of those.
Oh, okay.
They also serve them on fire too, so
Dark bitter souls.
Yes, you can serve it on fire, blow it out, and slug it back.
which makes it very warm.
Yes.
Sometimes
And
it's-
it is recommended to take care. Any drink that is served blazing, it is recommended if you have facial hair, do take care.
Put it out first.
Yes, dear.
Difference between a regular spoon and an absinthe?
Absinthe spoon is a wide spoon and it's got slots in it, so that the sugar
So the
can,
caramelized sugar.
yes,
drops
can pour
in.
through, yes. So in addition to the absinthe, on your Mixology 101 panel, flavored vodkas. You should have flavored vodkas. This is where it gets to the two part. The other part, my other panel, you'll learn about, as I said, the infused vodkas that I make, personally. And then you have the flavored vodkas, and honestly, as an amateur mixologist these days, I've been kind of a little disheartened as I've been finding more and more flavored vodkas out there, thus making my endeavors seem less meaningful in some ways when people can go to stores and buy them themselves.
Not the same.
Thank you.
They aren't actually. No.
They are.
They're
Mine are better.
chemically-
Mine are
chemically
better.
flavored.
Mine are fresher. But we'll get into that at the following panel. But there are a wide array of flavored vodkas for those of you who are afraid to, don't want to, or just don't really care to make your own infusions. And they're good. I use a lot of the flavored vodkas myself for a lot of things. Some things are just too hard to infuse at home. I find chocolate infusions are difficult to do at home on my own, so I tend to buy the chocolate flavored vodkas. Sometimes I just see a really unusual flavor that I wouldn't have thought to do, so I taste theirs. Bacon. Actually, the bacon vodka makes a wonderful Bloody Mary.
Yes, it does.
It is also the key, one of the key ingredients in my salted caramel martini.
Oh, I'm not allowed to ask about
Yes.
that.
I have the recipe for that one. I think I might have that on my note. Yes. So when it comes to my personal drinks, some of my personal ideas of choice, I like to name drinks. I have several categories. Sometimes a drink comes first and then a name just comes to you. More often than not, what happens is I think of a name that would be really cool for a drink, and then I go about trying to find the drink that fits the name. Sometimes I make them for people. I have actually 2 people in this room who I've made drinks for. I made a drink for Miss Emma Pila called the Diabolical Mastermind, which we actually have up here, and I will not be giving samples out, and it is hers to use with her discretion. And I made for the gentleman in the back, Mr. Aloysius Fox, from the League of Cincinnati Steampunks, and owner and head chairman of the Steampunk Empire Symposium, which I will be also at.
April 26th through 28th.
Yes, say that again, please.
April 26th through 28th.
If you wish more information, stop by their table. Plug, here endeth the plug. For Aloysius back there, he actually has a 2-part drink. He has one drink that is called the Delicious Aloysius, which is a caramel, another caramelly kind of martini, creamy caramel martini. And then we have the Sex in a Frock Coat, which is taking the Delicious Aloysius, adding it to hot tea, and then adding, you can have it 2 ways. Straight, it's just Sex in a Frock Coat, and if you want Sex in a Frock Coat with bloomers, you add milk. So, and again, at the other panel, I'll get far into a little more in-depth details on exactly the steps I use to come up with these different drinks. Mixology's been going on for a long time, ever since the first person took a bit of grog and a bit of rum and added it to some water and called it grog. And even before that, mixology has been around. You could actually credit mixology all the way back to the days when some caveman somewhere ate a fermented berry and went, ooh, I should mash this up and pour the juice into my mouth. I would have liked to have been there for that. So, I think it might be time for another drink. What do you think? Think we should have another drink? All right then. Let's see, what can I make? Well, I'm saving the martini for basic cocktails, so you don't get a martini. I think I will make you something that I have already made up. One of my other original drinks. So one of you lucky people is going to get to try the Aether Gale. It's a drink I made actually specifically for Peter Beerslayer at this last World's Steam Expo. Let's see, how do I choose somebody new? I'm not choosing Aloysius because I know him and he's had too many of my drinks. No, I'm not choosing Emma because she doesn't want to come in front of all of you people.
You choose me?
Yeah. I think I'll go with the fanciest frock coat, or the fanciest waistcoat. That would be you. If you would like to try some.
Sure, why not?
Should I twist your arm a little bit more? What do you think? Should he try this? A round of applause. Should he try this?
Yes.
That's it. About
Those
peer
against?
pressure.
You should try handing it to me.
You're gonna get your reward, Mr. Minion. So,
Minions always get boobs.
the Aether Gale is, like I said, a drink that I created a while back. One of the nice things about the Aether Gale, its featured ingredient is cucumber vodka.
And it's brown.
There's cucumber vodka. Well, the brown would be because of the Baron
Cucumber and what?
Cucumber, honey, vodka, and some other stuff. If you want, you can always
And?
pass it around and share it.
It's true.
Share.
Great place to find bottles for your mixology projects, the Christmas tree shops.
That is surprisingly interesting.
I would
All
hope
right.
so, I made it.
Let us know. I just wanna know your thoughts.
I definitely have cucumber over Johnson. That's got marinade flavor to it. They blend together in an interesting way that I would not have expected.
And that taste is.
Taste.
Leans towards cucumber. For science.
For
Science. Science.
For science.
Cucumber.
Yes, definitely smells like
taste.
cucumber. Absolutely.
Alcohol cures all ills.
Alcohol
Ills all
cures.
germs.
Yes, it does cure a lot of
Yes,
germs.
exactly.
Okay.
Does not taste like it smells.
Going back to the items that you should have on a bar. I was actually kind of working this way into things, and also if you email me wanting any of my notes on what I think should be on wet bars,
Really good.
yes,
Business card.
the business card's right up there. Yes, I will send you some of my notes and my recommendations for wet bars and the like.
Distinctively smell the cucumber.
Yeah.
But the Baron Jäger.
I'm
and the
pretty pleased
cucumber
with that one. I
combined
thought it
make
turned out
a
well.
Third flavor that is neither one nor the other.
Yeah, you can still taste both though, while you taste them.
Anybody else want to be bold?
In character.
Of course. You had me on germs.
Pretties.
It is quite interesting.
This is my favorite part about mixology, by the way. Handing out the drinks and seeing what people think of them. I work really hard on a lot of these recipes. The ones I have the least amount of confidence in are the ones where I'm the only set of taste buds that taste them. Which is why I have a cadre of one assistant and a cadre of minions that assist me. And I have to tell you, some of the favorite nights are when I put out a call and say, who wants to come to Calamity's house for an experiment night?
This is not something that I would have, if I'd seen it on a menu, I would have ordered, but I might have been missing something.
That's why I rarely ever tell people what's in it before they drink it.
What is that called?
It's called the Aether Gale. It's a steampunk drink. So in addition to all the other things I've told you about, another thing you should have on your bar is tequila. Now, caveat, I do not have tequila in my wet bar, primarily because I loathe tequila. I've yet to find one that I've enjoyed. I've yet to find one that has not made me wake up the next morning with a raging headache, so I just do not drink tequila. It is unlikely that there will be a drink, the Calamity concoction, that will feature tequila. I'm not saying it's impossible, just highly unlikely. Another thing you should have a realm of what I call filler ingredients. You need your Kahluas, you need your Baileys. Those are very good staples to have on hand. And if nothing else, you can always throw them in a cup of coffee and say, woohoo. Triple sec is a good thing to have around, especially if you are a tequila person and you want to make margaritas, you should have some triple sec around. Peppermint schnapps and something cinnamon flavored is a very good thing to round things out. Those are, again, my personal recommendations for any good wet bar. As I mentioned, you need the shaker, you need rocks glasses, you need jiggers. You need jiggers. It's the easiest, bestest way to, I've done it with tablespoons, I've done it with teaspoons. Jiggers are the most convenient. This is my traveling jigger. I like this one because on this side I get the 1 ounce, 2 ounce, and 3 ounce, and on this side I have the half ounce, 3/4 ounce, and 1.5 ounce. This is my most versatile jigger. Traveling jigger notwithstanding, I use this one the most at home. Jiggers come in a wide variety of sizes. I'm getting a nice little collection of fancy jiggers. People see cute jiggers and they buy me jiggers. There's jiggers on handles. Jiggers on handles, it basically looks like you got a jigger on the end of this. They're really useful, especially when you're newer and you slosh a bit. They're really good because then you just pour them and you flip. They're also good for the experienced mixologist when they get drunk on their own creations.
I don't know, I'm tempted to not get over.
And then when you get drunk enough, experiment night turns into, ooh, forget the jigger, let's see. Like so. Now, fun thing to do with mixology with creative drinks. Say you've got a science fiction party coming up, and you're having a Star Trek party, or a steampunk party, or a Dune party. And feel free, and people do this all the time, feel free to go through established lists of recipes of cocktails and rename them. The original Romulan ale didn't start off as a Romulan ale. The very first Romulan ale was actually a Blue Hawaiian that somebody served up at a Star Trek party and decided, you know what, is this theme? So no, They're not blue Hawaiians. We'll call them Romulan ales tonight. Eventually, some crafty mixologist or college frat boy, I'm not sure which, decided to make an actual Romulan ale. And now there are about, my last count are about 38 different decent recipes for the Romulan ale. That's the other thing you can do. Take a recipe like the American Trilogy, for example, which she sampled earlier. The first time I made it, I had no rye whiskey, and I had no bourbon, and I had no whiskey. All I had was scotch. So I made my first one with scotch, and it was really good. So I turned it from an American trilogy into a Scottish trilogy, or the Scottish-American marriage, or however you want to rename it. Feel free to change one ingredient a little bit. Fine, you don't have caramel vodka? Try vanilla vodka. Sometimes those changes work, sometimes they don't. And that's a really great way to get started into mixology. And that is my challenge to all of you later on, when you're back home and you're at the liquor store, pick something you've never worked with before. Look at that bottle of bubblegum vodka and go, huh, bubblegum martini sounds kind of cool. Give that a try. Be willing, be daring, experiment. Make your Bloody Mary and throw a jalapeno in it instead of a stick of celery. It's actually pretty good. I've seen these jalapenos that are about yay long. We cut them into strips and you can stick them in your Bloody Mary. It's really good. So that is my challenge to you. And if you do such things, you start experimenting and changing things up, feel free to message me and tell me what you've come up with. If you create some of your own recipes, I would love to hear about them and try them myself. If you subscribe to my Facebook page, I will occasionally talk about recipes and upcoming ingredients. I am currently working on 2 different series of drinks. One series doesn't really have much of a name to it, but I am making drinks for some of my favorite steampunk bands. This weekend, I gave the Extraordinary Contraptions their drink called the Extraordinary Concoction. I've created a drink for a band called Fourth Theater Reunion called Soul of a Band. One of their songs they do is Soul of a Man. And I'm working on a drink for Frenchie and the Punk, which I'm calling, of course, Frenchie and the Pink. It will be a pink drink. So, and the other line of drinks I'm working on is a series of drinks based on the series Dune. So we have the Water of Life and Muad'Dib, the killing drink. I may actually break out the tequila for that one. Or maybe for the Water of Life, you know. So any other questions, comments? I'll have to be preparing for the next panel, which is Basic Cocktails 101, in which I'll be discussing things about, you know, some of the basic cocktails that are out there. Yes?
How often do you take into account the scent of the liquids you're using in your mixes?
Smells important.
It is very important. I take it into account every time. To be honest, when I made the Aether Gale, I almost changed the recipe at the last minute because there's something about the smell of it that I wasn't quite super thrilled about. But I had it, but the taste of it was enough to overpower the slight. And now it smells right to me. But yes, scent is very important. If it smells wrong, it's probably not going to taste right. That can't be the same for scent. That cannot be said for colors, though. Just because it looks like muddy water doesn't mean it's going to be a bad drink. Because frankly, once you start mixing a bunch of alcohol together, they all start turning kind of brown, or varying shades of brown. So that is what I have for Mixology 101. I thank you all for being here. And why is my apron backwards?
Why not?
So feel free to take a break, come back for basic cocktails. Somebody in that class is going to win a Bombay Sapphire Martini. I'm going to take a break because I want to run upstairs and grab 2 more supplies. Minions don't need to win anything. Minions get rewarded.
We're winners already.
Yes, you're already winners. So I'm going to run upstairs and I've got some other gin. This is. I don't know why I swear. I will talk about process and I'm going to run off. I'm going to actually.
How are you?
Need to. You're gonna hang out. Maybe she'll watch it. Cocktail recipes.
What alcohol?
Emma, I'll be right back.
Record their
Stop. Come on.
Should I smile?
I can do some good tonight. I don't know anything about
I'll be back
later.
I'm sorry, I don't care, but I'll be